Hi, I'm Deb, your host. Welcome back to the Empower Inward. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to share a gentle disclaimer. In this podcast, I speak openly about trauma, loss, and healing. My goal is to share my personal story, not to offer you medical or psychological advice. Please listen with care. Please be mindful of your emotional state and take breaks or seek support if any part of this episode brings up different feelings. You are not alone. You are safe here, and I honor you for joining me. If parents had known better, they may have done better. They may not have known better then. I choose to know better now. The cycle did not break when they changed. It broke when I did. On to the next chapter. Was I repeating my mother's story, or was I learning how to end it? Looking back on my first marriage, I can see now that it was a chapter filled with lessons. I didn't yet understand why I was living them. There were moments of fear, confusion, and survival. There were also moments where I discovered strength inside myself that I didn't know I had. Every step of that journey, the move to Oregon, the violence, the escape, the arrest, the divorce, and starting over in Las Vegas shaped who I was becoming. At the time, I thought I was simply trying to survive one situation after another. But looking back now, I can see something else happening. I was learning what love is not, learning what I would never accept again, learning that I had the ability to rebuild my life no matter how far it had fallen apart. The first marriage eventually came to an end, but the story of my life was far from over. In fact, another chapter was just beginning. A chapter that would bring new experiences, new choices, and another relationship that would shape the next part of my journey. After my first marriage ended, I carried with me a quiet mix of hope and hurt. I didn't fully understand what I had been through yet. I only knew I wanted something different. I wanted peace. I wanted love that felt safe, steady, and real. When I met my second husband, it felt like the beginning of that possibility. We dated for a few months, and I allowed myself to open up again, believing I was stepping into something new. Then one day, he told me something that stopped me in my tracks. He was still married. I remember feeling deeply upset, not just by the situation itself, but by the fact that he hadn't told me from the beginning. It shook my sense of trust. When I questioned him, he explained that he and his wife had been separated for quite some time and that she had moved back east. At the time, I didn't fully know how to process what I was feeling. Part of me wanted to walk away, but another part of me wanted to stay. Looking back now, I can see that I was already navigating a space where my inner voice was speaking, but I didn't fully trust it yet. I believed in the possibility of what this relationship could become. I believed that things would work out themselves. And in that belief, I moved forward, carrying both hope and uncertainty. As the relationship continued, I began to see that I was still making choices from a place of familiarity rather than clarity. I was learning, but I wasn't fully awake yet. It shows me the cost of ignoring my own instincts. This chapter wasn't about getting it right. It was about beginning to see, as uncomfortable as that moment was. It became one of the first signs pointing me toward a deeper understanding of myself, my worth, and the kind of love I truly deserved. This is the story of my second marriage, not just what happened, but what it revealed. Not long after, I went to his apartment and stayed with him for a few days. It felt like we were moving forward, but like we were building something. I had even left some clothes there, but when we returned one day, everything shifted. His wife had came back, and she had destroyed my belongings. I remember feeling shocked and deeply upset, not just by what had happened, but by what is represented. I turned to him, hurt and confused, asking why he hadn't warned me this could happen. His response was that he didn't even know she would come back. In that moment, I was standing in the middle of something I didn't fully understand, a situation filled with instability, unanswered questions, and emotions that didn't feel grounded or safe. Looking back now, I can see how uncertainty I was willing to stand in, hoping things would settle, hoping clarity would come later. But clarity doesn't come from confusion. It comes from truth. Looking back now, I don't see failure. I see awareness beginning to form. This relationship began another teacher in my life. Again, it showed me how important honesty is, not just from others, but within myself. It showed me the cost of ignoring my own instincts. This chapter wasn't about getting it right. It was about beginning to see. And as painful and confusing as those moments were, they became turning points, guiding me toward a deeper understanding of myself, my worth, and again, the kind of love I truly deserved. This is the story of my second marriage, not just what happened, but what it revealed. Moving on to reflection, understanding the red flags. For a long time, I asked myself a painful question. Why didn't I see the red flags? Looking back now, I realize the truth is not that I couldn't see, it's that I was seeing pieces. But I didn't yet understand myself enough to act on them. After my first marriage, I was carrying hope. I wanted something different. I wanted peace, love, and safety. When I met my second husband, I believed I had found the possibility of that. And when hope is strong, it can sometimes quiet the voice inside that is asking harder questions. The truth didn't come all at once. It came in pieces. I had already begun to invest emotionally before I learned he was still married. By the time I saw that red flag, I was already in motion, already trying to make sense of what I thought this relationship could become. There was also something deeper at play, what felt familiar. Confusion, uncertainty, and emotional instability didn't immediately feel like danger. In some ways, they felt normal. And when something feels normal, we don't always question it the way we should. But I did feel something. There were moments when my inner voice spoke, moments where something didn't sit right, moments where I paused internally. And even if I kept moving forward externally, the truth is, I wasn't unaware. I was learning to become aware. And awareness doesn't always come fully formed. Sometimes it comes as a whisper before it becomes a clear voice. I also wanted to believe the best. When he told me he was separated and that his wife had moved away, I held on to that explanation. I gave the benefit of the doubt. I believed things would work themselves out. Looking back now, I don't judge myself for that. I understand it. I see a version of myself who was trying to love, trying to trust, and trying to move forward without yet having all the tools or clarity I have today. The lesson wasn't that I failed to see. It was that I was in the process of learning to trust what I saw. This reflection is not about regret. It is about recognition. Recognition that my awareness was beginning to wake up. Recognition that my inner voice was always there. Continuing the story of my second marriage. After the incident at the apartment, something shifted, but not in the way you might expect. Instead of walking away, we moved closer together. There was this feeling between us that we were meant to stay together, almost like we were holding on to the idea that love would somehow make everything else work. Even though things were uncertain, even though the foundation wasn't steady, we believed in us. Reality, though, was very different from the idea. We didn't really have a place to live together. I had the option to go stay with my mom, but that would have meant not being with him all the time. At that point, being with him felt more important than having stability. So we chose each other over comfort, over security, and what might have been the wiser path. For a while, we stayed at the lake. We were living on next to nothing, barely having enough to eat at times. It wasn't easy. It wasn't what I had imagined love would look like, but in my mind, there was still this belief that what we had was worth it. And somehow, this struggle meant something. Looking back now, I can see how much I was equating closeness with connection. I thought being together physically, staying side by side no matter what, was proof of love. But love without stability, without truth, and without a solid foundation can leave you feeling just as empty as being alone. At the time, though, I wasn't seeing it that way. I was choosing him, and in many ways, I was still learning how to choose myself. While we were trying to stay at the lake, we decided to go into town one day to visit a female friend of his. What started as just a visit turned into something more. She welcomed us in and offered us a place to stay. It felt like a small turning point, like things were beginning to shift in our favor. Moving in with her, he found a job working as a mechanic nearby. For the first time in a while, there was a sense of direction. We were no longer just getting by, we were starting to build something, even if it was small. We began saving money, holding on to the idea that we could create a better life together. Then another opportunity came. His brother offered us a chance to a new start in New Mexico. At the time, it felt like exactly what we needed. A fresh beginning, a clean slate, a place where we could leave behind the instability and start over. So we took it. We packed up what we had and moved to New Mexico, stepping into a new environment, a new chapter, and new possibilities. We moved in with his brother, his wife, and their children, becoming part of their household. Looking back now, I can see how much hope I placed in the idea of starting over. I believed that a new place could bring a new outcome, that changing our surroundings might change what we were experiencing inside the relationship. And for a moment, it felt like it might. But what I didn't yet understand was, a new place can offer opportunity, but it doesn't automatically bring clarity, stability, or truth. Those are things we have to carry within us. At the time, though, I was still learning that. After moving to New Mexico with his brother and sister-in-law, I finally began to feel like it might be settling down. He found work as a mechanic, and for the first time in a long while, there was hope that stability could be possible. Living with family helped us get back on our feet financially. Eventually, after saving enough money, we moved into our own apartment downtown. To the outside world, it looked like the beginning of a new chapter, and in many ways, it truly was. This part of my story carried an important emotional theme, the desire for a fresh start. Many people who come from difficult childhoods or unstable relationships believe that changing locations, relationships, or circumstances will finally create the safety and peace they have always searched for internally. And sometimes those fresh starts really do provide temporary relief. New surroundings, new jobs, new routines, new hope. The feeling of finally becoming normal. But underneath that hope, old emotional survival patterns often still exist quietly in the background. Moving on to reflection for myself. So I asked myself, what did having my own apartment represent emotionally? I felt very safe, excited, and hopeful with this marriage at first. Did I finally feel chosen or important? Yes, of course I did at first. Were you trying to build the stable family life you never fully experienced growing up? Yes, and I thought, of course, we would live happily ever after. Did you begin ignoring red flags because you wanted the dream to work so badly? Yes, I did. However, looking back now, I can see that I ignored many red flags because I wanted the dream of having a stable family and a loving relationship to work so badly. At the time, I did not understand alcoholism. I did not understand trauma. I did not understand nervous system survival or emotional pain hiding beneath behavior. I only saw moments of chaos, confusion, drinking, and emotional unpredictability. But I kept believing things would eventually settle down. Now, the hidden story behind addiction. During many of his episodes of drunkenness, he would share something that deeply affected him. His father had a heart attack and died in his arms. At the time, I did not fully understand the weight of that experience. Now, looking back, with more awareness, I realize that many people carry unbearable emotional pain that they never learned how to process. Some people grieve silently, some numb, some drink, some become emotionally unavailable, and some stay trapped in survival mode for many years. However, a compassionate but honest understanding someone's pain does not mean unhealthy behavior becomes acceptable, but it can explain why some people struggle the way they do. Behind addiction, anger, emotional shutdown, or chaos, there's often unresolved grief, trauma, helplessness, or emotional suffering. That does not remove accountability, but it can create understanding. I carried my own emotional wounds into the relationship. Wanting love, safety, family, stability, and connection can sometimes cause people to minimize warning signs because the dream itself feels emotionally life-saving. I'm wondering if my story may help you recognize yourself in this. Hoping love would heal everything. Believing stability would eventually come. Explaining away unhealthy behavior. How about feeling compassion for someone's pain while slowly losing yourself? This does not make someone weak, it makes them human. Back then, I only saw the drinking and the chaos. Now I can also see the grief he was carrying. I did not understand alcoholism then. I did not understand trauma. I only knew I wanted the dream of a loving family to survive. People who grow up in emotional instability often deeply long for original peace, for ordinary peace. Sometimes having an apartment, a steady job, and a plan for a family can feel almost magical to someone who spent years emotionally surviving. That does not make them weak, it makes them human. At that moment, I truly believed we were building a life together. For the first time in a long time, things looked stable from the outside, and maybe for a little while, that hope was exactly what I needed. Finally, after 5 years together, countless hopes, disappointments, prayers, and trying to build a life together, I finally became pregnant with my son. For so long, becoming parents had felt just out of touch. Every month carried hope, followed by emotional letdown. Like many couples struggle to conceive, we continued believing that one day things would finally work out. And then one day they did. The emotional meaning of pregnancy. This moment in my story is about much more than simply becoming pregnant. For many women, especially those who grew up searching for emotional safety, love, belonging, and stability, pregnancy can symbolize a new beginning, hope for a healthy family, feeling needed and loved, building the home they always longed for, and creating something beautiful from pain after years of instability, struggle, and emotional survival. This pregnancy felt like life was finally moving in the right direction. What emotions I felt when I discovered I was pregnant. After starting to get sick every time I ate, my sister-in-law said, "I bet you're pregnant." I thought, oh, there's no way. I was just not believing it at all until I went to the doctor and had a pregnancy test. Oh my goodness, I was in my glory to say the least. I really then was the happiest I had ever been in my life. It felt like life was finally becoming complete. All I could think of was holding my baby and loving him so much. I knew at that time my child would have a different childhood than my own. Future motherhood awakened a deeper protective side within me. This pregnancy temporarily brought peace, closeness, and hope into our relationship. This is also a beautiful opportunity to speak about dreams many women carry quietly inside. The dream of building a safe and loving family. Does anybody connect with the same feelings? People who grow up in emotional pain often become deeply determined to create something better for their children. Sometimes motherhood becomes the beginning of awakening, because for the first time, a woman starts protecting someone else the way she may have always needed protection herself. After 5 years together, I finally became pregnant with my son, and for the first time in a long time, life felt full of hope. I truly believed we were building the family we had dreamed about. Sometimes the deepest healing does not happen in dramatic moments. It happens quietly. It happens when a person finally becomes honest with themselves about the life they have lived, the pain they have carried, and the patterns they no longer want to continue. For many of us, survival becomes normal long before peace ever did. We learned how to adapt, how to protect ourselves emotionally, how to stay strong on the outside while silently struggling on the inside. And after living that way long enough, we can begin to lose connection with who we truly are underneath the fear, the chaos, the people-pleasing, the shame, or the constant need to survive. But healing has a way of calling us back to ourselves, not to who the world told us we needed to become, not to who pain shaped us into being, but back to the person we were before survival became our identity. That is what Empower Inward is truly about. This podcast is not about perfection. It is not about pretending life did not hurt. It is not about blaming every painful experience on the past. It is about awareness, because awareness changes everything. The moment we begin recognizing unhealthy cycles, emotional wounds, fear-based patterns, or the ways trauma shaped our thinking, we also begin creating the possibility for something different. Healing rarely happens all at once. Most of the time it happens layer by layer, choice by choice, truth by truth. Sometimes healing looks like leaving an unhealthy relationship. Sometimes healing looks like learning to sit in silence without running from yourself. Sometimes healing looks like forgiveness. And sometimes healing simply looks like becoming aware enough to finally say, I deserve peace too. I believe one of the most courageous things a person can do is stop running from their own story. Not to live in pain forever, but to finally understand it, learn from it, and stop allowing it to unconsciously guide the rest of your life. My story may have started in trauma, confusion, instability, and survival, but somewhere along the way it became the story of awakening. And I believe that is possible for all of us. I truly believe the two most important relationships we will ever have are the relationship we have with our higher power, which is God for me, and the relationship we have with ourselves. When those relationships begin to heal, life begins to change from the inside out. So wherever you are today, whether you are just beginning your healing journey or already walking through it, I want you to remember this. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too damaged to heal. You are not disqualified from peace, growth, joy, love, or purpose. Your past may explain you, but it does not have to define you forever. Healing is not a destination. It is a returning to truth, a returning to awareness, and a returning to the parts of yourself that were never truly lost, only buried beneath survival. Thank you for allowing me to walk beside you for a small part of your journey. Until next time, keep walking inward, keep listening to your spirit, and keep choosing yourself. This is Empower Inward, where awareness becomes power and healing begins within. Before I close this episode, I've been thinking about how powerful it has been to finally tell these stories out loud. For so many years, these memories stayed inside me. Some of them felt confusing, some painful, and even some I didn't fully understand until I started speaking them out loud here with all of you. What has surprised me the most is how many people quietly relate, not always to the exact same events, but to the feelings. Feeling unheard, feeling unseen, feeling responsible for everyone, feeling like you've had to survive instead of truly live, feeling like you were carrying emotions you never had words for. And I think that's why these conversations matter so much. Something really special is getting ready to happen with this podcast. Soon, I'm going to be joined by someone very close to this journey who has been listening deeply to these episodes. And instead of just telling stories, we're going to start unpacking them together. Not as experts pretending to have all the answers, but as two people having honest conversations about what healing, awareness, growth, and reflection actually looks like in real life. She'll be sharing the moments that resonated with her, the parts that brought up emotions, the things she recognized in herself, and the questions many people may silently ask themselves while listening. I think sometimes when people hear a story, they think, that happened to her, not me. But then someone else listens and says, wait, I do that too. I felt that. I react like that. I never connected those dots before. And that's where healing conversations begin. Not through perfection, not through pretending, but through honesty and reflection. I truly believe some of the most powerful moments are going to come from simply sitting down and talking through these experiences together. And honestly, I think many of you are going to hear yourselves in these conversations too. You may recognize patterns, old survival behaviors, ways you learn to cope, or maybe even parts of yourself you've been trying to understand for years. So if these episodes have touched you in any way, stay with us because we're just getting started. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing me to tell the truth. And thank you for walking this journey with me. I'll see you in the next episode. Any questions, catch me at deb@empowernword.com, and a big shout out to my editor, Jordan.